Today we begin with a quick update on the Yield Pro studios in Nevada. We're evacuated. That means we're not there. For those in Rio Linda, a town that made me smile as I passed it on the way out. The Caldor fire continues its steady roll into the Silver State from South Lake Tahoe, California. It has not only affected our Nevada offices, but a number of our staff located in and around Northern California have also been impacted by this and other fires. The Caldor fire alone has charred over 200,000 acres of forest and real estate across Northern California as of this recording. For decades, we've watched the abandonment of simple forest and water management across the once golden, now charred state. Yet another year, and we're paying the price with our health and our homes. Hundreds of communities destroyed. What will stop the madness? Still, I'm hopeful. In the short term, what will pull us from these ashes is also what has created this still great nation. Builders and developers. Those who build towns and make homes from a plot of dirt, or in this case, scorched earth. So while politicians scheme, builders build. In fact, builders teach us all there is to know about reaping the benefits of a life well lived. Hard work, integrity, simple truth. Builders and developers truly are the backbone of the nation, now and forever. And that is one foundation that will not soon be broken. Builders are the best of humanity, all that is right with the world, especially in these times. Today's guest is one such man, a multi-generational builder from the great and free state of Florida. Salvador Leccese, President and CEO of LeCesse Development. Sal began at the ground level, scraping floors for his dad's contracting business. He eventually went on to buy the business from his family, and here we are, 5 decades later. 100 million in annual volume, delivering thousands of apartment units each year with a heck of a lot more in the pipeline. Sal, you're a legend. It's great to have you on the show.
Nice to be here, Linda. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Family business in Rochester, New York. Fast forward now to over 20,000 residential units across 9 states and growing. Market rent, mixed use, LIHTC, senior government, subsidized, retirement, and military. You have built it all, mostly ground up. Walk us through your story and how it's landed you here today.
Well, as you mentioned, I started out in the construction business. We were general contractors, building mostly institutional buildings, such as hospitals and nursing homes and university buildings, schools, a lot of schools, so many I can't remember them all. But along the way, I made friends with some developers who were also builders, but they were building it for themselves. And I liked the idea of building and owning what I built. My dad had told me that we build them, they own them, son. But I saw others that were building and owning, so I started building apartments that you might call left-handed. While I ran my construction business, I also started a development business and did our first property, which was actually mixed use. It was assisted living and housing for seniors, independent, and Section 8 back in 1972. And it just grew from there. In 1993, I sold my construction business to my employees, and I had moved to Orlando to open an office for us in 1985. And that became our permanent development office for LeCesse Development Corp. And we've been building multifamily as our primary occupation since then.
Sal, what's your secret for not only making it through a cyclical business, but coming out on top? What drives you?
Well, I don't know if it's being driven or not. Sometimes it's fear. We've been through a lot of ups and downs. I've seen recessions, none worse than 2007, 2008, but there were 4 or 5 before that we struggled through with the rest of the economy. And fortunately, because we had great people and great relationships with suppliers, lenders, contractors, etc., we were able to pull through every one of the recessions, including the recession in 2007 to 2009, which came very close to taking us down because there was no financing available for refinancing properties that you had under construction. Unfortunately, all of our lenders worked with us And we came through, I'd like to say, with flying colors and even stronger, with even better relationships.
LeCesse does on the upside of $100 million in construction volume annually. Finding land and labor and rapidly rising supply costs are obstacles for apartment builders. LeCesse, however, is planning to ramp up, adding over 1,000 units a year over the next 5 years. This is still half of your production of 2019. Is this the new normal?
Well, in 2019, we were ramping up when we ran into a slowdown, and projects that we were going to start in 2020 as a result of mostly the pandemic got shelved temporarily. So we were not able to achieve our volume goals in 2020. But now in 2021, as everybody knows, the market is hotter than it's ever been, and we're back on track to moving to producing about 2,000 units a year as opposed to 1,000 units a year. 2019, that's about the volume we were tracking was about 2,000 units a year. So we're back to that again. We expect that over the next 5 years to get more like 3,000 or 4,000 units a year, according to our plan.
New England, Florida, and Minnesota, a rather eclectic footprint. What's the rhyme and reason of deal selection?
Well, Minnesota is the most eclectic. I had a partner back in the late 90s who had in-laws that lived in Minnesota, and he went up there for Christmas one year. Came back and said, "Sal, they don't build any apartments up here." He was from Brooklyn. So we sent a land broker friend of ours up to Minnesota for a couple of weeks, and he found us a beautiful 400-unit site right on a golf course in a third-range suburb. Everybody in Minnesota thought we were a little crazy, but we went ahead and did it. We had a great partner on the project, Sun America, and it was very successful. So ever since then, we've always had a project either under construction or in the pipeline. We actually still have a project under construction in Burnsville. It's almost completed. We just finished and sold one earlier this year at Minnetonka. Whether we'll continue up there, I'm not sure, because the partner that was handling all those projects for us has retired. But the Northeast we're familiar with. I mean, that's where we're from. I'm originally from Rochester, New York, and we have a lot of experience in upstate New York. And then we got some opportunities that we were able to take advantage of in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, and Elizabeth, New Jersey, and another one came along in Maynard, Massachusetts. Those all came along about the same time. Two of them are completed now. One is under construction, and we just started construction on one in New Hampshire, and we'll be starting the second phase in Elizabeth shortly. So we're sort of entrenched in the New England, Middle Atlantic states also. We have good relationships there with lenders and contractors and engineers. So we'll continue to be very active in that sector. And our home base is Florida, so at least half of our production will come out of our Orlando office in Florida.
Fantastic. That is wonderful. 2.5 billion in real estate, much of it in multifamily. What is the draw to apartments?
Well, everybody always needs a place to live. We've built in other sectors. We've built Class A office. We've built some retail, but we built hotel. We built Marriott Hotel at Daytona Beach. But it always came back to apartments. I think it's maybe the easiest sector, because you're pretty sure, if you've done your homework, that your client's going to be there when you're done. If you convince your lenders and your partners to believe the same thing, then you've got a good formula. And that's turned out well for us. We've had very few properties that we've built where we misread the market. And usually it was, if we misread it, we misread the demographics and had a higher occupancy in one demographic than we expected in another demographic. But every project that we built has been successful. So multifamily just seemed to be, to me, really the easiest sector, maybe next to logistics. Warehouse is a pretty simple formula too.
Back in the 80s, your company had a hand in Panelized Construction. Is Panelized Construction better left to the past, or do you see it having a place in the future?
Well, there's different views on that. There's panelized construction and there's modular construction. And they're really different. Modular is building almost a complete unit in a plant somewhere and bringing it to the job. Panelizing in its simplest form is just putting the lumber together and building it off-site and bringing the walls essentially out to the job. That's pretty common, and it's not going to change. Especially in high labor markets, you'll find that panelizing is less expensive than stick built. But when you get into real systems, that all started back in the 60s with George Romney at Department of Housing and Urban Development that ran Operation Breakthrough. And of the 6 or 8 companies that participated with different systems, including Jespersen K from Denmark, Inland Steel, and a few others, the only one that survived was Forest City Dillon out of Akron. They were the only one that had a repeatable product. And we happened to have a relationship with them because we had built a mall for them in Niagara Falls. And so when they came into New York State, they started working with us as a general contractor that ran the building themselves because we had good labor relations in the state. And they had a plant that had a tri-party agreement with 3 of the trades, and they needed a contractor that had good labor relations in New York. So we started out doing that, and it was a wonderful system. It was really terrific. The only reason it isn't active today is because it required repetition. It was really the best for senior housing. And the federal government had a program called the 202 program for senior housing. And we probably did in 1 year, probably 80% of the production out of the Buffalo area office in 202. And we did it all with this precast concrete system that we could put the building up itself in about 30 days. So it would take us about 30 days for the foundations, 30 days when we'd have a building up in the air. And then we had to finish the interiors, and that would take us 5 or 6 months. So we could build 150 to 200 units in 8 months. There are a lot of systems that say they can do that now. A lot of them have failed. Katerra is a good example of somebody that stubbed their toe recently. Probably the biggest one with billions of dollars invested, including from SoftBank, as I understand. And it does seem to be working out. However, there is one in Orlando that's owned by some friends of ours, the Finfrock family. They designed a system that I think for building mid-rise concrete construction. It's not for home building. It's for mid-rise concrete construction where you can afford it and the rents are high enough. It's a terrific system. It's very well engineered, and it looks good. It doesn't look monotonous like you might expect a system, but they've done a great job with it. From a standpoint of wood frame, there's still a number of people that are trying to put the right spin on that to make wood frame modular, panelized, automated, call it what you want, construction work. Some of them are scratching the surface of success, but there's not one that's been overwhelmingly successful yet.
So is there any interest in single-family build-to-rent?
There's a lot of interest in single-family build-to-rent. I think it'll be a big market going down the road and compete for a certain segment of the multifamily market, mostly in second and third range suburbs with families, because you get a whole piece of the yard. The nice thing about single-family rentals, and we're thinking about sticking our toe in the water on it on one project right now, is that it's pretty easy to build. We have one going in Rhode Island right now that's duplexes for seniors. And the codes are easier. If you make a mistake on this building, you don't make a mistake on every unit. You can correct things easily, and it moves very quickly. It's a whole different set of subcontractors and a different skill set than you would have in multifamily, which is a little more complicated. So I think it's here to stay. And there are certain builders, such as some of the major home builders now, are getting into it. So we're having major home builders as our competitors today, and obviously they're well financed. They can purchase land, and what it's done in some areas is driven up the cost of land, which, as we know, it drives up the cost of a home or drives up rents because there's such a demand for it. But yes, it's here to stay.
Well, it's definitely the belle of the ball.
Right now.
You work with institutional investors. How's that pipeline in today's economy?
I have to say that there's more money available than there ever has been in my experience. And that's 50 years. So part of it is the asset class is very attractive to investors. And part of it is the government has pumped trillions of dollars into the economy that's not sitting in somebody's mattress. That's in a bank account someplace that belongs to somebody, and they're renting it out if they aren't spending it. And those are investors. There's a big demand for both the finished product and the to-be-built product. Whereas we would have 3 or 4 investors look at one of our deals, we probably have 6 or 8 now, double that. And where we would have 5 to 10 look at buying a completed project, it's not unusual to have over 20 people submit proposals, 20 different organizations submit proposals for completed products on the deals that we do as merchant builders as opposed to for our own account. So there's a lot of money available today. How long it will last, we don't know.
Well, nothing lasts forever.
That's true. Nothing lasts forever. Something will burst the bubble.
Yeah.
We're just not sure what it's going to be.
So where does that leave your view on apartments, your outlook?
Well, the near-term outlook is very strong, very bullish. I listened to a podcast that Willie Walker had where he had Ed Fish as his guest. And Ed is one of the largest contractors, if not the largest contractor in the Northeast, out of Boston. And Suffolk Construction is the name of his company. And he's very bright and into the markets. And his position on it was, there's no better time to build than right now. And I agree with him 100%. There's no better time to build. Things are more expensive. They aren't going to get less expensive. They may come down a little bit, but it's just going to be a blip in the curve. And there's no question the need is there. It's harder and harder for families to buy homes. We don't have no doc loans anymore. Down payments are a reality. Low interest rates have saved the market from that standpoint up to now because a homeowner family can still afford the mortgage payment, but they can't always afford the down payment. And lifestyles are changing. You've got more and more households with no children, and they're choosing a lifestyle other than multifamily. Single family, actually. They're choosing a multifamily lifestyle. It could be anything from single family rentals to a mid-rise in a very walkable area of downtown. The walkability score was something you never heard of 15 years ago, but today it's one of the most important things for certain types of product is your walkability score.
Well, that's a recommendation to take to the bank. Sal, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show today.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Rome may be burning, the earth turning to salt, and the moon to blood, but the Sals of the country inspire hope and the energy to fight another day. Opportunity in this great country of ours is only limited by desire and ability. Constitutional freedoms and liberties afford us the framework to conduct business within free markets. Businesses like LeCesse have built this rich and prosperous nation. The fight for housing remains one of the most noble. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our show. Look for our next exciting episode of NAHB Power Hitters.